Well, the biggest game in over a decade for Mississippi State. Can the Bulldogs handle Tennessee's pressure on both sides of the ball? We're breaking it all down next.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward, Mazda, Move and Be Moved. My name is Jaron Spor. I'm a national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We've got our preview show for you today. We're going to break into what does Tennessee do well offensively, defensively, and then, of course, we'll end it with how we do every Friday with our Next Up in Starkville, previewing our prediction for the game as well. But first, let's start with the offense, and schematically, it's going to be very similar to what they see with Mississippi State.
Yeah, it's very similar. So the defense, I mean, nothing that they are going to do schematically is going to surprise the defense because, I mean, it's what they go against every day. Now, some of the players they're going to have to go against a little bit different, mainly the wide receiver. They're Chris Brazzell. I mean, not many guys are that big and that fast.
Yeah, he's having a great year. 6 touchdowns, too, already, which isn't crazy to think about. This was something that Eric Kane and I talked about yesterday. The funny thing when you think about Mississippi State and Tennessee offensively, you think of the passing game. You mentioned the receiver. Joey Aguilar is having an outstanding season, almost 1,200 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, 3 picks. But really, the offenses are built on the run game. And their running game is special. Star Thomas has 272 yards, 4 touchdowns on the year. Deshaun Bishop has 263 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then even Peyton Lewis, who's the third guy, 157 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, they're averaging 216 yards rushing a game.
Yeah, their rushing attack is crazy. I mean, that's something that Heupel always has. I mean, we've talked about Dylan Sampson in the past. I mean, you keep going back, you know, they have someone every year that you're like, oh, yeah, that guy's really good. I think Bishop's the better running back of the two, just the way he runs. And maybe that's just my preference for how I like running backs, what I like in them. But to me, he's the bigger threat of the two. But I mean, they're both great in this rushing attack. It's going to be a tall task for this revamped defensive line. I mean, we've talked about, they've had a couple, smaller versions of this test, but they haven't seen anything like this rushing attack with this offensive line.
Well, and that's what worries me about this game. I mean, Tennessee, 216 yards rushing per game. Mississippi State, their defense is much improved, but they're still allowing 136.5 yards rushing a game. And we saw against Arizona State, they put up like 251 or something like that, 252 in that game. So that's what worries me about this game is if Tennessee can run the football and have success, that opens up everything. So the passing defense that's been really good for Mississippi State, now it's going to be even more tested because those guys are going to have to step up. The defensive backs, safeties, Isaac Smith, guys like those, going to have to step up more and help out in the box so they don't just run wild on you. But that's when Joey Aguilar, which I think is the bigger difference between Tennessee this year and last year, because while Nico's ceiling was higher, Aguilar's playing better football.
Well, from what we've seen from Nico so far, maybe his ceiling wasn't higher. But that was my big question mark with Tennessee when Nico left and Aguilar came over. It was kind of like, maybe this team won't be as good because we didn't.
That's why we thought this was a maybe win for Mississippi State because you didn't know
what Aguilar would be like once he stepped up in competition. Turns out he's a very good quarterback.
Yeah.
So he's really the difference maker. I mean, almost 67% completion, only 3 interceptions. So, I mean, he's putting it on the guys. Heupel runs an offense that leads to open receivers. And when you have guys that run like these receivers do, you can't let them get wide open. I mean, they're going to get open. It's impossible to stop this offense. You have to slow them down.
Right. And it just might be impossible to slow them down even. I mean, they've scored over 40 in every game. They scored over 50 twice. Georgia was obviously their biggest game they've played, and they put up 41 points in that game and should have won if he doesn't miss the walk-off field goal at the end. And in that game, they had 496 yards of total offense. 371 of that was through the air. So Georgia contained the running game, holding it to just 125 yards rushing. But as soon as you do that, again, Aguilar has the massive day, throwing for 371 yards and 4 touchdowns. They can just beat you in so many ways, and that's what makes things difficult.
And while this may not be the Georgia defense we're used to over the last decade, it's still a very good defense, and to be able to do that to them, that shows what kind of firepower is on this offense. Yeah. And we've talked a lot about how good Kelly Jones has been. The lot is going to be on him. It's going to be hard to leave a safety back to help. I mean, you're going to have a safety back, just kind of like deep safety, but you're not going to be able to shade to the side of the number one receiver. You're pretty much going to be in one-on-one coverage, because if you go back in zone, they're going to run it down your throat, or these guys are going to find the hole in the zone and pick them apart.
Yeah.
So there's a lot on these corners.
Yeah, no, there is. And you mentioned Brazil earlier, 177 yards, 3 touchdowns against Georgia. And Braylon Staley had a great game too, 9 catches, 97 yards, and a touchdown. So they can hit you from so many different ways offensively. And it's just going to be a tall again, it's going to be a tall task. But again, I still think the defense is improved. And I don't want people, if Tennessee goes out there and has their way offensively, I don't want people to even be like, oh, same old defense. It's not the same old defense. It is an improved defense. This just might be the best offense they play this season.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, just off the top of my head, it'd be hard to say there is one that is clearly better. I mean, there's probably a couple that would be in the conversation, but right now, this is the best offense. I mean, you look at the receivers.
The other one is Arkansas, maybe, because Taylor Green's playing amazing, and they have a top 5 offense in college football. But I still think Tennessee overall is a better team offensively.
Yeah, and you look at these the receivers, their yards per reception.
Yeah.
17, 13.4, 15.8. The tight end is averaging over 10 yards per reception. Bishop, 22. I mean, it's that we've talked about how Mississippi State wants to score from far. Tennessee scores from real far.
Yeah, it's the same motto. And like I said, schematically, it's the same offense. So the up-tempo shouldn't affect Mississippi State because they see it every day. Now, they don't play against it in games all the time, and so that's going to be a little different. This is the game that I think, and I mentioned it yesterday on the podcast, that Will Whitson being out is just brutal because they don't create a lot of tackles for loss. They don't create a lot of sacks, but he did. And so a lot of those negative plays that Will Whitson was making, someone's got to do it, and no one's done it so far.
Yes, we've talked a lot about new defensive line, a lot of depth on it, but besides Whitson, no one has really stepped up to be a difference maker. He's gone for the year. So, I mean, Brandon Jennings kind of flashed last week, making some of those like chaos plays. He didn't really clean them up, but he forced someone else to be able to make a tackle for loss or get the sack because he blew up the play. But you're going to have the defensive line and the blitzing linebackers are going to have to win one-on-one battles with this offensive line, because you're not going to be able to send blitzes very often. I mean, you have to, but you can't live with the blitz against this offense.
Yeah, and it's an offensive line that I believe replaced 4 out of 5 starters from last year, and it was a really good offensive line last year. So, it's going to be a tall task for sure. But all right, coming next, we'll break down the defense of the Tennessee Volunteers and what Mississippi State might have some success on. That's coming up next. Well, this episode is brought to you by Mazda, moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it, there are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is, I mentioned it yesterday, I'm going with Jordan Mosley. He had the 1 catch for 45 yards against Northern Illinois, but I think that was literally the spark that ended up just taking that game over and eventually taking Mississippi State to a blowout win, because at that time, I believe it was like 14-10. No really success at halftime offensively. He comes out, makes the big catch, sets up the big run that they end up going on. They score on 4 of their 5 possessions in the second half. The only one they don't score on was the one they were kneeling the clock out. So I'm going to go with Mosley on that one. So when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Landon, so what impresses you about the Tennessee defense?
Really, it's the pressure they create and the amount of sacks they have. I mean, they have Joshua Joseph's 3 sacks already on the season, 15 for the whole team through 4 games. So, they create a ton of pressure. They're controlling the line of scrimmage, getting guys running free. And it's not just 2 or 3 guys that you have to worry about. Yeah, Joseph's leads them with 3, but then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys with at least 1 sack, and then a couple with half a sack. I mean, they're bringing pressure from everywhere, and everyone's getting through.
Yeah, they are. And the thing that's kind of impressed me is coming into the season, Jermod McCoy, we obviously know about him, and Ricky Gibson, the 2 top corners for them. And Jermod hasn't been able to play this year because of the ACL injury, and I think Ricky Gibson got hurt in maybe the first game of the year. Right. But the guys replacing them are Colton Hood, and then Ty Redmond also has had a big year. And they've combined for 9 pass deflections, which is just an insane stat to think about. And then I saw, and Eric Kane brought it up yesterday for those that listen to that podcast, Colton Hood's now projected as a first-round pick. So a guy that came into this season as a backup for you is a first-round pick right now. So it's insane the riches they have. But their defensive line, controlling the line of scrimmage has been incredible to see. And I bet that's also, I've only seen them a handful of times. I bet that's also what is opening up the great defensive back play from Hood and also Redmond.
Yeah, when you're getting pressure like that, it makes corners' jobs a whole lot easier. But 9 passes deflected at this point between 2 guys is a crazy number, and it means they are in the right position. No matter how much pressure is being generated, if you're not in the right place and have actual ball skills, you're not going to be able to deflect passes. And they have 3 interceptions on the year total on the team, and one of them, Ty Redmond has 1 of them. So, again, these corners have ball skills. You don't want to – these are not corners you want to test when it's tight coverage. You're going to have to at some point. You're going to have to trust your arm, trust your guys. But these aren't guys you can take advantage of.
Yeah, and some other names to know, Aaron Carter, Boo Carter as well. Those guys are having fantastic years. Linebacker is Aaron Carter's a linebacker. Boo Carter's kind of that hybrid that you see. But those are guys to watch. The thing I will say about Tennessee that's kind of impressed me is they were an elite defense last year, and they're still a good defense, but last year they were so balanced. 189 yards passing allowed, 100 rushing allowed at 58% completion percentage. This year, their defensive rush defense has been better, allowing only 93 yards rushing. But if you're at home, you're like, okay, we hear all this stuff about how great Tennessee's defense is. How can Mississippi State have success? The success is going to have to come through the passing game. Like, yes, we mentioned Hood and Redmond as having good seasons, but the pass defense has not been good. They've allowed 67% completion percentage for 279 yards a game.
Yeah, and some of that could be how explosive the offense is this year. Because when you get a big lead on a team, they're not going to keep running the ball that much. The team you're playing is not going to be balanced on offense. They'll hit
I think that completion percentage, though, is what's
that one pops, and maybe they're playing a little bit of soft coverage with Tennessee. Once they have gotten in these blowouts, I've quit paying attention to them, so I don't know what kind of the defense they're running in those situations, but that could boost it a little bit. But, yeah, you're going to have to, as much as we think Booth and Bothwell are probably 2 of the 4 best players on this offense, the running game should be the strength of Mississippi State. Don't just pound the ball into this line if you're getting no yards. Don't just sit there and go with the whole 2 yards in a cloud of dust mentality and be like, oh, we're establishing the run. This is old school football. No, it's dumb football.
Yeah.
Spread it out, go 4 wide, 3 wide, and a tight end, and try to make this defense cover sideline to sideline. Spread them thin, and then if you get a light box because you've spread them out, that's when you hit them with the run. You have fast receivers, get them moving across the field, put the bunch of rub routes, things like that. You have to try to create your advantage through your formations and the movement on these routes and stuff. This is not a team you can just line up and go toe to toe with right now.
No, you can. And again, I think this is going to have to be a similar game to the Arizona State game where Shapen and Anthony Evans and Brennan Thompson had a lot of success, 279 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, because Tennessee's allowed over 300 yards passing in back-to-back games. Everyone remembers the 304 yards that Gunnar Stockton threw for. Jalen Kitna at UAB threw for 364 yards and 2 touchdowns and completed almost 75% of his passes.
I always forget that Kitna's kid is a college quarterback, and he every time, and it makes me feel so old.
And he had a great game, and so that is the way to win against Tennessee is you have to have success through the air, which does start with some of the run game. And Landon and I, obviously, and he just mentioned it, we preach how this team is built on the run game, and we think that is their best unit, the running backs. But in this game, you're going to have to use that to set up more of the pass because the pass is your way to success.
Yeah, you use the pass to set up the run, and maybe you do some of the, the quick like bubble screen flares with the running backs, things like that people always refer to as like an extension of the running game. Maybe get some things like that to kind of soften up the box a little bit, because this 0.7 controls the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
When we mentioned how many sacks they have, I think the team has like 36 tackles for loss on the season. That's controlling the line of scrimmage. So you have to get them out of position a little bit. And we saw them use it some last week with the like end arounds and kind of touch pass things to Evans and Thompson. Get them running with all that speed, full head of steam coming around the outside. Maybe that helps loosen up the defense a little bit. But you're going to have to, as good as Fluff is and as strong as he is, this isn't a team that you can just hand him the ball and he's going to run through 4 people on his way to a 20-yard gain.
Yeah, and you wonder how much the success in the run defense for Tennessee is because of the opponents they played, because Georgia did almost have 200 yards rushing on them. They had 198. And I believe they had 3 rushing touchdowns.
Sounds right.
And yeah, they had 3 rushing touchdowns, 198 yards rushing, and again, scored 44 points in that game. They had their way offensively with them, and that's something Mississippi State can do as well. Whereas Syracuse wasn't going to be able to run because they got blown out early in that game. East Tennessee State, again, FCS opponent, and then UAB last week had tons of success through the air, but they're not going to be able to run against Tennessee. So how much of it is fool's gold that their run defense has been so good this year?
Stats,
yeah, because again, Georgia's kind of the only game we can go off of for a lot of these stats, and Georgia had their way offensively.
Yeah, they did. But when you when you play a lesser opponent, if you do something incredibly well, you can still take a little bit away. Maybe some of it is based off of opponent, but they're clearly still good at it, and game script probably dictated some of that as well. But you can't take it lightly. And with how good they have been with creating the pressure and beating people with one-on-ones for tackles for losses, I still think you're going to have to, at least early on, be very creative with how you kind of attack that box area and around the line of scrimmage, move some people around to try to get better one-on-one matchups.
Yeah. And even though it was a blowout, Yasin Willis had 91 yards and 3 touchdowns for Syracuse in that game. So, I mean, there was some success on the ground in some of their games so far this season. But all right, coming up next, we will give our game predictions. Don't go anywhere.
It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. And for Mississippi State, Isaac Smith delivered in a big way. The game was still kind of close with Northern Illinois into the third quarter, but it really turned when he made that interception in the end zone. Northern Illinois was getting close to, making it a 1-score game again, but he got that interception in their end zone. Mississippi State went down and scored, and that's really where they started to put that game away. When the pressure was on, Isaac Smith came through, no hesitation, no delay. If you've been watching week after week and really year after year, this performance wasn't a fluke. Isaac Smith is on a streak. Just like Isaac Smith delivered for Mississippi State, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-hour energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee plus B vitamins, nutrients with zero sugar and zero crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. Big taste in a tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost when you need it. And yeah, being that portable is one of the things I love the most about it. You know, we all have those jobs, and in the afternoon, you just starts wearing on you 2, 3 o'clock. You start feeling that crash. You don't want to go have to drink a big cup of coffee or a big drink, something like that. A little 2-ounce shot of 5-hour energy really gets you going, gets you through the rest of that day with no crash. Then there's zero sugar, which is big. I don't like, just filling up on sugar from those drinks. I'd like to say that for something a little more fun than something that's going to be a little more energy. So, and it kicks in right away, and I don't have to worry about that crash later. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with the 5-hour energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Landon, what's your prediction?
I've been going back and forth on this one a little bit. I think where I've landed is 38-27 Tennessee wins.
Okay, a high-scoring affair. If you missed it yesterday, Locked On Vols, Eric Kane, he predicted 31-20 Tennessee. I gave my prediction on that show as well. I went with 34-17, and I'm sticking with it. I said I might change, but no, ultimately I am going to stick with it just because I think Mississippi State's had a lot of success this year, but Tennessee's just a different animal that they haven't faced yet. Blake Shapin's got to have success in the passing game for them to have any chance. My worry is, yes, I think the defense is much improved, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that think, oh, the defense sucks again after this game, but they don't. They're just facing a really good offense.
Yes.
I just think Tennessee's run game is too much, especially when we don't have the guys to get a lot of TFLs, a lot of sacks yet. And then I think in the passing game, if you have any success stopping any of the run, I think the passing game can have some success. I know some people will bring up, well, Arizona State, they shut them down. And they did. They shut down a very good passing attack in that game. But they shut down that passing attack last year, and they were not a good pass defense last year. I think it says more about Leavitt and his up and down play. Now, it says a lot about Mississippi State, too. They had to go out there and make the plays, and Kelly Jones has been elite this year.
Right.
And maybe he can have some success. But, yeah, I think if Mississippi State wants to have a chance in it, Shapin has to have a big game. The passing attack has to have a big game. And they have to really get rid of any momentum Tennessee. If Tennessee develops any momentum early in the game, got to take that back very quickly. Because I think if this is a game that you can get within striking distance, 7-3 going to the fourth quarter, I think you got a chance at that point.
Yeah, you definitely do. And another thing that we didn't really talk about this time, Mississippi State has to clean up the penalties. We did a lot about early in the year. You can't, this is not a game you can give them 100 free yards of penalties. You have to be very clean in this game, or it could get out of hand. And you mentioned with the defense, if the Tennessee defensive line kind of has their way at times with Mississippi State's offensive line, everyone does not need to start freaking out about, oh, we need to get rid of Loadhold, what he's working. Yeah. No, he's just building something, and he hasn't finished building yet. I think this 4-0 start may make people think they're a little bit farther along in the rebuild than they really are. But hey, that doesn't mean they don't have a chance Saturday. It's just, if things go badly, that doesn't mean it's not working.
Yeah. And I agree.
If Shapin has a bad day, it's not time to go to Kamario Taylor.
No.
It just means he played a good defense.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good defense that can have success. But hey, another thing that can make the difference is the crowd. It's a wide out. Get that crowd going, get them early, and then it's up to the team to keep it going and keep the crowd into it. And then anything can happen in the fourth quarter. But all right, it's another big moment on Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch college football kickoff every Thursday throughout the season only on Fire TV. I'm Jaron. Check out my work over at Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We post daily videos Monday through Friday. So check that out. We also have our pregame video that will drop tomorrow morning. Then we'll obviously do a postgame reaction to it. So check that out as well. And until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.